Me. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order this Tuesday study session of the Pierce County Council. It is Tuesday, July 30th, 2024. The time is 12:03 p.m. All members are present except for Councilmember Herrera, who is excused. Item number 2 is the review of today's council meeting agenda. Ms. Long.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is your amended agenda for tonight's meeting. This is a special meeting. It is the District 3 meeting beginning at 6:30, and it will take place at the Pierce County Skills Center. So we do have a few items on the consent agenda for introduction and scheduling. They are all ordinances. The first is O 2024-544. This is authorizing the approval of an application for open space classification. You'll be setting the final on this for September 3rd. And recall the new process now is those will not be going through committee. The next is O 2024-545. This is authorizing the approval of applications for open space classification as well. And you'll be setting the final on this for September 3rd also. The third ordinance for scheduling is O 2024-548. And this is amending Title 18A of the Code Development Regulations zoning. This is the implementing ordinance for the 2023 comp plan amendments. And you'll be setting the final on this one for September 3rd and no, it doesn't look like there is a committee meeting on this one.
There should be a referral to CDEC for August 5th.
Okay, well, we will be sure to add that. So referral to
Mr. Kruger, is that correct?
CDEC.
Yeah, it's a referral to CDEC for
Okay.
August the 5th.
We will add that to this agenda. So that's it for introduction and scheduling. You have no final actions on your consent this afternoon or tonight. You do have under action on grant applications and awards. There are 3 listed here, and Mr. Boki will be speaking to those 3 shortly. Moving to section 7, you do have one proclamation tonight, and that is proclaiming August 8th through the 11th, 2024 as Pierce County Fair Weekend in Pierce County, and that was requested by Councilmember Kruger. There are no ordinances or resolutions, and so we'll move right to section 10, other business and announcements. And you have a few items here. The first is the Pierce County Skills Center Welcome with Scott Martin, the director. Next, you have the Community Forest update. This will be with Joe Kane, the general manager of Nisqually Community Forest, and Justin Hall, the executive director of the Nisqually River Council. The third item is SR7 pre-design update, and this will be with Steve Rourke, the Olympic Region Administrator from Washington State Department of Transportation. The fourth is the Pierce County Comprehensive Plan update. This will be with Lauren Flemister from Planning and Public Works. And then finally, you have the upcoming County Fair presentation with Shelley Bennett, who is the Pierce County Fair Manager. And those are your agenda items for tonight's special meeting.
Thank you, Ms. Long. We'll get into the grant authorization request here shortly, but are there any questions or comments other than the grant authorization requests? Councilmember Kruger.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to ask for a change in the agenda a little bit in having Shelley be first right after the proclamation. And that way she isn't waiting till the end and they kind of fit together. So
that makes sense. Thank you very much. Makes good sense. Any other questions or comments about this evening's council meeting? We'll see folks there, there being the Pierce County Skills Center off Canyon Road at 6:30 p.m. this evening. Thank you.
And Chair.
Let's move into the, excuse me. Oh, Councilmember Kruger.
Thank you, Chair. I just wanted to share again that, you know, it's a kind of a full meal deal there. So I think there might be food today, but there will be great pizza from Varsity Pizza from Eatonville, and I believe chicken wings and salad, and it's very good. And it's also good leftover. So I'm hungry.
Me too.
Thank you for preparing for us, Councilmember Kruger. I don't know if you can beat the fun time in Eatonville. That was that was a high bar, but you know, we're excited to see the Skills Center and learn about some of the great things happening in District 3. Let's move into the grant authorization request. Mr. Boki.
Thank you, Chair Mello, Paul Boki, council staff. The first one is a Transportation Improvement Board, TIB, grant. It's competitive. It's at the state level. It is in the Parkland vicinity. They're submitting for, it already has a construction number, ADA improvements, and will address deficient curb ramps, sidewalks, driveways, and APS push buttons along 112th Street South between Sheridan Avenue South and C Street South. And this is west of Pacific Avenue in the Parkland area, south of 512. The grant amount request is $653,940. The match is $280,260. It's anticipated that those funds will come out of the county road fund. And so a map has been provided for that. Thank you. So it runs several blocks. There are actually quite a number of blocks. So, and I apologize on the name, Mr. Raymond Beliza from Public Works is here to answer your questions.
Thank you. Raymond, what do you have to add on behalf of the department?
Or not? I don't think he's connected to audio.
Raymond, you're unmuted. If you are talking, we cannot hear you. Well, does any member have any questions for Mr. Boki or for the department to follow up on? Councilmember Cruver.
How about
Chair,
now?
I'm just wondering
How
what
about
the
now?
activity,
Hear me now?
We can. Councilmember Cruver is going to ask a question and then we'll invite you, Raymond, to add more. Councilmember Cruver.
yes, thank you, Chair. I'm wondering, is there an anticipated number of users of this new project?
Raymond, can you please add more on behalf of the department and take on that question? Raymond, we cannot hear you.
This is
Can you hear me?
Peter speaking
Testing,
on behalf of
testing.
the department. Raymond's having some technical difficulties. He's messaging me now, so I'm not sure he'll be able to respond in real time.
Testing.
Peter, do you want to take this on?
I can attempt to, but I don't know nearly as much about that particular project as I do the other.
It's okay, I just was curious. Thank you.
Yeah, I'm sorry for Member Cruver's question. I don't have an answer myself.
Raymond, let's try one more time. Your audio, please. Raymond, can you try?
Can you hear me? Testing, testing.
We can hear you now. Please proceed.
Oh, I just wanted to say I didn't have anything to add to Mr. Bochi's comments to my project.
Raymond, did you hear Councilmember Cruver's question?
I did not know.
Councilmember Cruver, please.
Thank you,
restate your
Chair.
question.
Yes, I was wondering if you had any anticipation on the number of traffic that would be on there, the pedestrians, the bicycle, or what will it increase, or both sides? Is this both sides of the street? I didn't catch if it was.
Yes, it is both sides of the streets of the street, both sidewalks, both sides of the sidewalk. And I'm not aware of the count of bicycle traffic or pedestrian traffic on that. I'll have to get back to you on that.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for the question. Raymond, can you remind council, are we completing a network? Are there facilities on either side of this missing link?
Yes, we just completed, the county just completed construction of CRP 5853 that was between C Street and A Street. And that's connecting that network there, and we're improving upon, like the our job description says, we're improving upon deficient curb ramps, sidewalks, and driveways throughout.
That is great. We often can't do everything all at once.
Right.
And so we do things in phases, but it drives the public batty when they see sidewalks and bike lanes to nowhere and they stop all of a sudden. And
Agree.
part of that
agree.
is because we can't do everything all at once.
Right.
And we have to do it in phases. So here we are trying to complete missing links so that folks can get from point A to point B more safely.
Yes.
Other questions or comments by council members? Councilmember Hitchin.
Thank you. Not a question, more a comment. It is an area that is heavily used by pedestrians, and the portion from Pacific Avenue to, let's see, where are we starting? C Street was done recently. That was a rough gravel shoulder that was, you'd see all kinds of traffic going up and down that very unsteadily. And now there's an actual paved path, sidewalk and infrastructure, but then finishing it. So it would actually go that entire quarter. It will go, if I'm remembering my map here, it'll pass church, there's some apartments in the area, duplexes, and also an elementary school. So it's a really good, and then it's a high traffic, one of our better bus lines that go in that direction. So a lot of bus stops. So it'll be really helpful to help people move safely.
Yes, ma'am. And could I add to that? Just that CRP that was just completed. Before I was promoted to this position, I designed that project 5853. So yes, it's kind of it's nice, to say the least, to see this whole corridor be connected, and that CRP 5853 that joins. It's adjoining a project for Pierce Transit BRT. So that's we've been working with the state on that as well and coordinating our efforts with them. So yes, it'll be nice to see this all completed.
Thank you, Raymond, for your work. Thank you for being available to answer our questions.
Of course.
This authorization will be on this evening's council meeting agenda for approval. Let's move on to the next one, the Urban Arterial Program. Mr. Boki.
Thank you very much, Chair Mello. This is another TIB, Transportation Improvement Board grant request. This amount is for $5 million. And it is for CRP 5895, which is 122nd Avenue East, 153rd Street Court East to 146th Street Court East. I think this is one that you've had other applications on in the past. Match funding for this program, and the match funding is anticipated to be $11,963,000. Is projected to come from traffic impact fees. And if the grant is secured, additional TIF will be programmed to provide the full amount. And Mr. Peter Lewis Miller is on the line to answer your questions.
Thank you. Peter, if you could expand on the scope of work of the project and what we're going to see upon completion, that would be great.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Mello. I'd be happy to. If you recall, the 122nd Ave corridor is that section, it's that lone section of the county where our concurrency is not meeting our standards throughout the county. And we've had a series of projects starting at the north and extending south to correct that and add an additional lane and a two-way left turn lane. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to have a road section with two southbound through lanes, one northbound through lane, and a continuous two-way left turn lane. We'll be putting sidewalks on both sides of the road, curb and gutter, a storm drain system, and a few walls.
Thank you for expanding on that. Are there any questions or comments about this grant authorization request? I don't see any. Peter, thank you for being here to answer our questions. This will be on our agenda this evening for approval. Good work to the department for continuing to pursue projects that improve mobility and safety for all users. Mr. Boki, we have a Federal Emergency Management Agency Hazard Mitigation Grant request.
Thank you, Chair Mello. This is a FEMA grant, Federal Emergency Management Agency grant. It comes from our Emergency Management Department. The grant amount is $302,629. There is a match of about estimated $37,829 of in-kind staff time. The grant is a hazard mitigation grant for cost-effective mitigation projects. Emergency Management desires to submit 3 projects under this funding opportunity. One is outdoor warning system, all hazards alert broadcast siren installation. Number 2 is life safety volcano hazard notices in at-risk communities. And 3 is household warning systems for lahar hazards. And I believe that we have Mr. Todd Kilpatrick from our Emergency Management Department to answer your questions.
Thank you, Todd. Thank you for being with us. What do you have to add on behalf of the department?
Thank you for that question, Chair Mello. Mr. Boki did an excellent job as always, so I have nothing further to add, but I'm available to answer whatever questions you may have.
Thank you for being available. Councilmember Hitchin.
Thank you, Chair. On the bottom of the grant application, it talks about counties will be prioritized, those that have had emergencies, and we're not listed, but I look at this type of equipment and I look at the Mount Rainier, and it seems to be that's really the focus. Is that why we're still applying? Because Mount Rainier is such a huge risk in our county.
Thank you for that question, Councilmember Hitchin. You're absolutely correct on all facets that we were not a declared county for the 2 disasters that would fund these proposals. However, it is a statewide funding opportunity, and we certainly don't look askance at taking advantage of opportunities when they become available. And then in regards to the focus is predominantly on Mount Rainier, but also these all hazard alert broadcast sirens are located throughout the county and are used for other hazards as well, such as wildfire or flooding or things of that nature. But yes, absolutely, that's the Mount Rainier volcanic hazard remains and continues to be a significant hazard of concern for us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Krueger.
Chair, is it normal protocol to procure equipment and then hand that out to residents? I'm looking at, with 351,000 households to get a radio. Is that something that is typically done for emergency?
Yes, Councilmember Krueger, thank you for that question. We like to be trailblazers in the emergency management discipline, but I'm sad to say in this case we are not. However, through colleagues of ours in other states, particularly the Santa Rosa Fire Department in Sonoma County, California, we learned that they had successfully achieved a similar grant to procure and distribute NOAA weather radios to their residents. And then also, I'm familiar with another FEMA program called Radiological Emergency Preparedness, where residents near commercial nuclear power plants are issued tone alert radios to notify them of the need to evacuate away from hazard zones. So it's not completely unheard of, but it would be the first time that the Department of Emergency Management for Pierce County has done something like this.
Because of course, what comes to mind, if we're going to distribute these for emergency purposes, it seems like it would be just as feasible to link up the constituents to Starlink for internet. And then they would even have more access. So if we're providing the funding for this, I would think it would be beneficial to provide, and the other kind of hookup as well. So I guess we'll have to look for a grant for that. So.
I that is a very compelling thought to consider for a future proposal. Unfortunately, not under FEMA, but I will be now looking, maybe perhaps through other federal agencies, for opportunities to do that.
There are of, those kinds of emergencies with the dam breaches. I think having that interconnection would be very viable for the people. So anyway, thank you, and thank you for the information. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kimball.
Thank you. And trying to read up on this distribution of radios, just kind of following this thread for a moment. What is the approximate cost per radio that you're looking at sourcing to distribute?
Council member, excuse me, Campbell, thank you very much for that question. So that question, something that Chair Mello said to one of my colleagues at the beginning of this meeting, one of my colleagues from PPW, really resonated with me in this instance, is that we're not always able to do everything all at once. And similar to the other proposals, I would characterize this as an incremental long-term investment over time, and kind of chipping away on the areas of concern through multiple funding opportunities. On average, our research is that a single NOAA weather radio is about $40 individually, like in a non-bulk order. So there are potentials for greater economy of scale and savings in purchasing bulk orders of that equipment.
Okay. I'm actually, from living in Midwest, familiar with these radios. Living in tornado zone, I can remember my grandparents and my parents for a while, a little cube that just had a button and a light and an antenna, and every other day it'd go off to let you know that it's working, and that was about it. Then, when there was a tornado in the area, they would all go off. So I just remember they're very simple little pieces of equipment. So I imagine in bulk, you're probably getting down into the under $20, and I'm looking at Starlink at $300 to $500 per thing. Plus, we'd have to subsidize $120 a month for the service on that. But these NOAA radios, I just remember working very well in the middle. You'd go down when they go off, you'd grab it and head down to the basement and listen for updates where the tornado was striking. So I think that would be, it's a great source, and it works outside of communications or power networks that might go down. And so it's on a more stable network. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Todd, I don't see any other hands for questions, so thank you for making yourself available and pursuing this opportunity to bring more resources for our safety. So thank you so much.
It's my pleasure, sir. Thank you.
This grant authorization request will also be on this evening's agenda for approval. Thank you, Mr. Boki. That concludes our review for today's regular meeting agenda. We're going to move to item number 3, review of committee agendas for the week. Ms. Long.
Well, this will be quick. The only other meeting on your meeting schedule is tonight's special meeting in District 3, as the 3 o'clock regular meeting has been canceled.
Thank you. The committee reduction for the council ends at the end of this week, so you've all had your summer break. Let's move to item number 4, external boards and commissions. Good afternoon, Mr. Taylor.
Good afternoon. My report is very short today regarding the PSRC. PSRC has their August recess, so there aren't any of the policy boards or the executive board that are going to meet over the next several weeks. So I really don't have much to report on other than they're in recess right now.
The executive board did approve the transportation investments that you briefed on last week. I think $18 million or so of investments in different Pierce County communities, including unincorporated Pierce County.
Correct.
And a lot of good discussion at the executive board about the contingency list and what should be on a contingency list. And but the projects were approved, so it was good. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're at item number 5, discussion of administrative items. Ms. Murray.
Good afternoon, Julie Murray, Chief of Staff. I want to bring the attention to the members who are not at today's Rules and Operations Committee meeting is that we did, or the committee approved my recommendation to hire Joe Eisman for the Performance Audit Policy Analyst position. Joe has a history here in Pierce County, have worked here since 2020 in the Finance Department's IT division, really assisting their performance audit team. So he has a lot of experience, and he'll be starting on September 2nd. The other item I'd like to talk about, and there's some security changes that I would like to make to the chambers and the lobby, and we'll do so unless there's some objection here from the members. The first one is the panic buttons that you have at the dais, at the clerk's table and in the lobby is making those live at all times. Currently, you have to plug into your laptop, but there is the ability to just remove that and so that they can be available for use when the laptop isn't in function. And that's really, to me, the primary issue here is that we're not always staffed at the lobby area and have the laptop there. There's movement back and forth here, and you as members or the clerk may not have set up. And so this just sort of makes that real at all times. And it's likely to be during those periods where we're not here that we may need to use it. So it's really a simple technology fix that we can do. The second one is, and this I have to give credit to Mr. Dominique, as we spoke with courthouse security. We have our doorbell, and would there be the possibility to actually be like your own Ring doorbell to be able to see who's at the door in advance before coming into the lobby? And apparently that technology has existed in the county city building for a number of years. It's just not been installed in the councils. And so that would enable us to have on both sides of this floor, in the back on this side, as well as on the side where the policy staff have, is the ability to be able to see, to be able to talk to that person, say, I'm coming to the door. It's not able to open the door from there, but you can at least have some advance notice of who's there and why they're there, and speak to them. And because it is sort of a county facility system, we don't have to worry about public records or the taping, and that all has been taken care of for us. And recognizing that the prosecutors are going to be moving into this floor when we do the office move, it's likely something that they would install themselves. So I've asked facilities to put that together. Hopefully that would reduce the number of people who ring the doorbell because they don't see someone coming right away. But really it is also to let us know, particularly if you're in the back and we don't have the lobby station. And then the last thing is, so this door has been unlocked. You as the council have the choice of either keeping it unlocked, having it locked at all times and requiring a badge, or putting it on a schedule. And so I would like to change it to at least say that that it's only open as it is now and unlocked from 10 to 5 on Mondays and Tuesdays. We have had a number of instances, and we've trained the staff, so it's happening quite less, is making sure that these doors are locked when we're not using this room. But there have been instances where it either doesn't latch correctly or someone doesn't recognize it, that hasn't been locked, that it's been open. And it's uncomfortable for me to know that somebody potentially could come just through and into our back offices and not have anything stopping them. So we are trying to, at all times, have that door locked, opening it up 10 minutes before your meetings, closing it 10 minutes after. But in the event that doesn't happen, I would like to know that the store is locked, particularly on those days for which we are not fully staffed, and there may be just a skeleton crew here and be quite off guard if someone were to be in the back there. So I'm going to make those changes unless you have an objection or you would like to have something different, but they just all seemed pretty reasonable to me to just increase the security of our work area.
Any questions or comments for Ms. Murray? Vice Chair Campbell?
Thank you. What were those days and hours again? 10 to?
Monday and Tuesday from 10 to 5.
So most of our, or at least the Tuesday morning committee meetings start at 9:30.
Mm-hmm. I can make it earlier.
So yeah, if we could just look at our committee schedule, and we often have Wednesday morning committees going on, whether it be performance audit or flood control. So just maybe looking at a little comparison against our committees and making sure, because I don't want it to be, okay, for the first half hour of this committee, I had a badge out, but after that, I don't. So I would do that. And secondarily, if we can just make sure that the panic button is at least 2 arm lengths from Councilmember Morel, that would be much appreciated. Thank you.
Too tempting.
Thank you.
You knew you weren't getting away with that today.
Appreciate you looking out for me.
Any other questions or comments? Ms. Murray, thank you for prioritizing the safety of our staff team and operations here and for those updates. We're at item number 6, Chair's Topics. Just 2 things. One is a reminder that unfortunately for us, fortunately for her, our very own Clerk of the Council, Denise Johnson's retirement is this afternoon. It's in the Tahoma Conference Room, beginning at 1:30 today, 1:30 to about 3:30. It's open house style. And we know folks from all over county government will be popping in to give their best wishes to Denise and her very well-earned retirement. I hope all members and staff of the council are able to carve out time between 1:30 and 3:30 today to yet again give our regards and best wishes to our good friend Denise Johnson and see others from throughout the county. So that's today at 1:30. We look forward to that. The other item is the Chief of Staff's performance evaluation is in the process. We have a goal of completing it by the end of August, hopefully well before the end of August, to get through all of the steps of the performance evaluation process. Members received an email from me yesterday with a Google form to begin that process and the written part of the participation. So please do find it. Please do participate by the deadline so that we can stay on schedule. Written evaluations are due back by August 5th, and we'll take the next steps as appropriate. So please do what you need to do to carve out the time to get that done so we can stay on schedule. We're at item number 7, other business. I'm going to call on Ms. Waterland of our staff to help me introduce the first 2 items here. The first being a letter to the Healthcare Authority and our state legislative delegation regarding reimbursement rates for crisis relief centers. Let's start with that. And then there's a consultation about a unrelated issue related to opioid treatment here. But let's begin with this proposed letter to the Healthcare Authority and our state legislative delegation. Ms. Waterland.
Absolutely. Just a little bit of background. In the year of 2023, the state passed Senate Bill 5120, which authorized the opening and reimbursement for 23-hour crisis relief center facilities. Before that time, this modality did not exist in Washington State as something that was statutorily necessary to provide. So this opened up some freedoms. As part of that, when March of 2024, when Recovery Innovations closed down operations of the CRC in Parkland, and request for information was issued, a successful bidder was chosen. That is Connections Health Solutions. And as part of that, they need to establish rates with all 5 managed care organizations in Pierce County to be reimbursed for those services. This letter, in short, is to the director of the Healthcare Authority, Sue Birch, with members of the Pierce County Legislative Delegation included, outlining, basically, asking that they direct the managed care organizations to enter into negotiations with Connections Health Solutions by August 30th of 2024 of this year. And then also verification that they have a contract in place by the end of this calendar year with Connections Health Solutions. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there questions for Ms. Waterland about what's going on here? She spent quite a bit of time unpacking what is going on in the ecosystem in this regard and what some of the limiting factors are to reopening this critical resource for the community and what it's going to take to get them reimbursement rates that are fair so that they can operate. Questions for Ms. Waterland and or any objection to sending this letter? Ms. Waterland, thank you for your work. Again, you've spent quite a bit of time really trying to understand this complicated, it's maybe not complicated to you, but complicated to most. Can you be sure that we carbon copy the county executive on the letter? We know he has an interest in this as well and
We will
wanting to
make sure.
stay aligned there.
Yes.
And here we are sending this to the Healthcare Authority and our state delegation as there is a nexus and maybe some long-term, likely some long-term work to do with our delegation in this regard. Okay, let's be sure to send by the close of business today.
Okay. Will
Let's
do.
move on to the next item, the consultation form being requested by the State Department of Health for opioid treatment program in Pierce County.
Yes, when making a decision on an application for a certification for a new or expansion of an opioid treatment program, statute requires that Department of Health consult with the county and city legislative authorities in the area in which the applicant proposes to locate a program. Northwest Integrated Health Solutions is proposing that they are going to be expanding their opioid treatment program to 510 Tacoma Avenue South. As part of this procedure, Department of Health reached out to do a consultation to verify that there are no issues with the siting in accordance with the appropriate county or city land use ordinances. This is going to be located in Tacoma, and so you clearly outline in the document back to Healthcare Authority that those questions should be directed to the city of Tacoma. But in investigating and talking with both your Behavioral Health Administrative Service Organization and the Department of Health, we've verified that there are no clinical issues that would be prohibiting you from also signing this document and just keeping you involved in the programs that are behavioral health specific that are opening in Pierce County.
Thank you. The document in its form that is being proposed to send back to the Department of Health is in the packet. Are there any questions, comments, or objection to sending back this consultation form, largely redirecting them to the city of Tacoma for substantive feedback about the siting? Any questions or comments? Councilmember Morel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is, if I remember you saying this is an expansion of an existing program?
Yes, they already have sites in Tacoma for opioid treatment programming. So this is another location that they would be
So it's
offering.
another location.
Mhm.
Okay, and what's their track record been in working with Department of Health?
I received no information back on any complaints or anything, again, that should give the council pause by way of licensing, issues with any of their performance. So Department of Health reported nothing back on that. I should note that as part of the application process, they did consult with Pierce County Alliance's CEO, the Pierce County Prosecutor, the Pierce County Superior Drug Court, and the Pierce County Jail, all of whom had no opposition in the form that they gave back.
Okay, and do they work with the Pierce County Tacoma's Health Department at all?
I have not verified that, but typically opioid treatment programs would have a relationship with the local health department.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions or objection to returning the consultation form as suggested? I don't see any. Please proceed on our behalf.
All righty. And to let folks know that that is due by August 9th, but with that approval, we'll send it off.
You.
Thank you.
We're at item C under other business, our weekly update from our communications manager and public information officer, Mr. Dominique.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair, members of the council, Brian Dominique, council staff. I have a couple things for you today, but first, earlier this year, we discussed getting a branded table skirt and banner for the office. I've had an opportunity to explore this, and we can get a retractable banner. Basically, it pulls up and clicks in place, easy to store. For events such as our in-district meetings, it'd be available to council members if they were going to go out and do something. We had to come up with a process for signing that out, but it'd be available. We can get an indoor banner that we can use as a background for like on-camera interviews or video statements, things that you guys are doing with that. And then also a table skirt that we can put in front of the tables, thinking specifically in districts meetings that have the council seal on it. So it'd be branding for the council instead of just the normal blue one we have now. We can get all of that for about $1,000 plus or minus. So if the council's interested in that, I can move forward. I know Councilmember Denson is, so, but yeah, that's, so I've had a chance to do that and we can do that. And then, this afternoon, I've talked a lot about a budget website over the last couple months. We are finally able to show you guys that today, right here. Jair is going to go ahead and pull it up and I'll just walk through it page by page. So right there is our landing page. This landing page includes the budget book. It includes a budget presentation from finance. And if as Jair scrolls down, we have a section here that describes the budget process, step by step, all the way from when the executive is developing the budget to when council adopts the budget and it's assigned by the executive. As Jair scrolls down, we have some information about what the budget is, the council's involvement in that. When the county executive gave his budget proposal, which kicked off the budget process for the council. Council did some work before that and it describes that earlier on. And as Jair scrolls down a little bit more, we've laid this out in budget priority areas, starting with public safety. There's two ways to get involved in these areas. You can click on the icons here, and on the left-hand side of the screen, you can click through them there as well. And then before we start clicking into that, if Jair scrolls down, we have all the committees of the whole, the council held with the presentations that were given on the budget. And then we have the 2 council budget retreats below that. So those are available for people to look at and consume and see for themselves. And then we have the actual budget adoption that took place, I believe, on November 7th. That video is there for people to watch. And then we have budget documents below that. This includes the preliminary budget priorities, establishing the meeting times, Amendment 1 to the budget, and then the executive's proposed budget. And then we sent out information every week as the council was going through the budget, and we've archived that here too, so people can see what updates we sent out. And then as Jair scrolls down a little bit more, we have the data dashboard from Open Pierce County. And then right below that, at the bottom of the screen, we have the council resolutions for funding. So this approves the budget appropriations and then the action the council takes to appropriate those to the various community partners we have. And then there'll be a section right here for supplemental budget that will link into there as well. So Jair, if you want to scroll back up and click on public safety. So each of these pages, there's 8 in total. They're all laid out pretty similarly. We have a preamble. It includes the total amount that is included. So for here, there's $295 million of investments in the legal and judicial system. And then below that, we have a table, and we just pull out specific things from the budget that we found were worth highlighting for people to see, so they wouldn't have to dig through the budget book. It's just there for them, easy to find, accessible. And so here, we looked at the sheriff's law enforcement budget, sheriff's corrections, prosecuting attorney, basically all the players within our law and justice system. And Jair, can scroll down a little bit more. We have emergency management in there. If you go back up just a little bit, we have the COVID-19 American Rescue Plan Act appropriations, $8.5 million. And then we have notes on the side there that talk about what specifically those are going to. And then if you want to scroll down a little bit more, at the end of it, we have you can view the complete budget for public safety. You have the legal services there, and then we have some related links, to the Sheriff's Department, Crystal Justice Family Justice Center, Superior Court, District Court. So just helpful links, helpful resources for people to use. And again, all the pages are laid out similarly to this. So Jair, if you want to go to the next one. So we combined housing affordability and homeless services here. Again, $215 million of investments laid out right there in the preamble. And then it has the budget highlight or the fund it's going to, the budget appropriation, and then what's being funded. And that's all laid out. And each one of the pages looks very similar to this. And then Jair, if you want to scroll all the way down to the bottom. And then we have the links so you can get the human services budget, general government budget, and then the comprehensive plan to end homelessness, housing action strategy, and then the 6-year advisory expenditure and implementation plan for the Maureen Howard Affordable Housing Act. So some helpful links there. And then I'll pause right now if anyone has any questions about this.
Questions or comments for Mr. Dominique? Councilmember Morel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate the work that's gone into this, but one of the questions that I always have to explain to people when they call is, this is a 2-year budget. So they go, oh, so public safety, you're spending $292 million a year. No. So I just want to make sure that we know that it's a 2-year budget, but the public doesn't see that. So if there's any way to highlight that, that would save me some answering some questions, but.
Absolutely. We can make sure that is very clear that it is over a
Thank you.
2-year period.
Thank you for that suggestion. Mr. Dominique, you and the team did a really great job putting this together. It is quite digestible. It's a big budget book. There's a lot of information there, and it's our job to be able to communicate it in really digestible, as easy to understand ways. And there's many nuances, like Councilmember Morel indicated, that we have to communicate to the public, like that it's a 2-year budget, and as tangibly as we can, what we're spending their money on to try to improve the quality of life here. So this is the first time I've seen it presented like this, really unpacking something that is really dense, so much information that it's overwhelming, and it's just too overwhelming if you just open up the entire document. So that we're unpacking it and making it much more digestible, I think is just a really great public service. Easy tool for us to reference as we answer questions and communicate with the public, and will serve us through the life of the biennium. So just really well done. Councilor Hitchin.
Thank you, Chair. It took me a second to process what I really wanted to ask, but as we do budget amendments, how does that work with this website? Because we do them every now and then.
Yeah, so as we do budget amendments, those will be added on to the priority section it's in. So if we're changing if we're changing an appropriation, that will be reflected in the budget priority area. And if there's if you're passing a resolution that's appropriating funding, that will be included in the what was funded section. So this is a dynamic page. It will be updated as the council takes action on budget related items.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks for the question. I want to also remind members that Mr. Dominique worked on a PowerPoint template that can be used if members wish, or others for that matter, but really designed for members to use. If you get invited to a community organization to make a presentation and maybe you don't exactly know what you want to present on, a pretty easy thing to talk about is our role in budgeting and how we're spending the public's money. So there is a template of a PowerPoint presentation that Mr. Dominique has put together. I've already started using it. It's quite good and informative, and folks can ask Mr. Dominique for it, and it can be tailored for your district. It's certainly meant to be county-wide in the county budget, but there's certainly a way to add a slide or two to highlight something in your district as an example, if that's useful. But I want to remind folks that is an additional tool that has been designed for us to use to get the word out and communicate with the public about what we're doing.
That is actually a great segue to the last thing I want to highlight on the budget website. Jerry, if you can pull back up the budget website and go to the community needs tab. So one thing the council did this year was appropriated funding to various priority areas out of the miscellaneous current expense. I broke this out into food assistance, senior services, community projects and initiatives, people-focused services, educational opportunities, and pilot programs or other miscellaneous expenses. And it's broken out in the same table format, but one thing you'll notice is on the far right side, Jerry, if you can scroll down just a bit, it says what district this is happening in. So if you do want your PowerPoint like tailored to that, we can pull information from here, and you can point people to here to say like, here's some of the things that are specific to our district that's being funded. So I just wanted to highlight that page. Barry, if you want to scroll down a little bit so we can get a look at the rest of it. So this is the food security section, senior services. And then anything that we've actually been able to appropriate is listed there. Like we have the Asia Pacific Cultural Center. That's an extension from the 2022-2023 budget. A lot of this right here is with different community partners or different municipalities, excuse me. And if you scroll back up, Jair, you'll see right here, like we have RFP selection and process. So we're going through an RFP process, competitive process to release those funds. So once that RFP has been selected and those funds have been appropriated, we'll update that as well with who received that. And that's all I have for the budget site.
Thank you for highlighting that. Any other questions for Mr. Dominique? Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any other business by council members? Not seeing any. Ms. Long, is there any other business for council? Well, for those listening, again, I'll remind you, our regular 3 p.m. council meeting is canceled. In lieu of the 3 p.m. regular meeting, we'll be at the Pierce County Skills Center on Canyon Road at 6:30 p.m. for the Council District 3 in-district meeting this evening. With no other business before the Pierce County Council and Tuesday study session, we are adjourned.